ABC Action News is keeping you informed this election year. We're offering candidates in the major races 5 minutes to talk about the issues. Here's Brendan with tonight's Democracy 2010 profile.
Here now with Scott Maddux. He is your Democratic nominee for Agriculture Commissioner on the November 2nd ballot in the general election. Thanks for being on Democracy 2010. You were elected mayor of Tallahassee at one point. You were chairman of the Florida Democratic Party. Aside from the fact that I can vouch for the cowboy boots you're wearing right now, what would you say qualifies you to be Agriculture Commissioner?
Well, I grew up on a farm in the south end of Miami-Dade County in the Redlands. I met my wife when we were both 19 at Florida State University. She was there in a scholarship as Miss Georgia Cattleman. Her family's farmed the same land for over 100 years. And I've taken an active role in our family's agriculture business since that time. But this job is about not only promoting agriculture, but protecting the consumer. As mayor of the city of Tallahassee and president of the Florida League of Cities, I worked actively to look out for consumers, and that's a whole lot about what this job does.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that you oversee a lot of different industries in Florida, a lot of different business niches, and keep people honest. What would you say is a particular problem on the consumer end of it that you'd like to address?
Well, you know, we have 18.5 million people in the state of Florida, and we're plagued by consumer problems. We lead the nation in just about every consumer fraud category: mortgage fraud, fraud against the elderly, telemarketing fraud. I want to put a stop to that. We need to have aggressive consumer protection, especially when we have 12% unemployment in the state of Florida. The last thing our citizens need is to have their pockets picked by someone doing consumer fraud. That'll be my #1 priority.
Okay, one of the questions we hear from our viewers here is the concern that agricultural clubs like Future Farmers of America and 4-H clubs are getting less and less support from the Agriculture Commissioner's office or that department, and they feel that's a bad thing for the future of the industry in Florida here. What's your position on that? Would you agree that that's an issue that needs to be addressed?
Well, I think anything we can do to help 4-H and FFA, I was in the FFA myself, would be a great idea because getting young people involved in agriculture is great for our state. Agriculture is a big part of our economy, along with small business and tourism. Those are the 3 pillars of our economy. So we should continue to promote that, and we can never start too early. So FFA and 4-H support is something that I'd be supportive of.
Right. The other thing we hear is the idea that the rules and regulations that govern farming and ranching and even butchering animals are really designed around large operations, even factory farms, so that small, niche, perhaps organic and local farmers have a hard time negotiating, and sometimes it's nearly impossible for them to do business. Where do you stand on relaxing some of the restrictions that have to do with egg production, meat production, that sort of thing?
Well, I grew up on a small farm. And we, we had Angus cows, we had chickens, and it was that very problem. And it seems like the big agribusinesses control the rulemaking process, and they control campaigns by giving hundreds of thousands of dollars of campaign contributions. We haven't received any of those. The vast majority of farms in Florida are small farms. They're 50 acres and less. So I think we need to have a holistic approach to agriculture that looks out for the small farms all the way up, and it also looks at other things like aquaculture, sustainable energy, farm to fuel, using sugarcane for ethanol, using pine trees for biofuel, making Florida the solar state as well as the sunshine state, and going after green energy and green jobs.
Where do you think that this department has fallen short under the previous administration of Charles Bronson, who's been in that position for a long time? You must have felt there was a need for you to get into this job and make some changes. So what do you see as your contribution changing things?
Well, I'd like to see a renewed emphasis on the consumer. It's no coincidence that con men have made this Florida their haven since the 1920s when they were selling underwater lots. And Bernie Madoff is the latest in a long list of con men that have come to Florida. We lead the nation in categories of consumer fraud. I want to make sure that's a priority and that we're going after these folks so they don't continue to victimize our citizens here in Florida.
Okay, why don't you take a few minutes if there's anything else you'd like to add, Scott Maddux, in terms of your qualifications and your ambitions should you be elected Agriculture Commissioner.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity. The bottom line is I'm mad about what I've been seeing in Washington. I'm mad about what I've been seeing in Tallahassee. We've got a high unemployment rate. We've had bailouts for big banks and CEOs, and yet we're not getting relief for people on the ground in Florida. I'd like to put a change to that and make sure that we're looking out for our citizens first. So what I would say is don't get mad. Get Maddux.
All right, very good. Scott Maddux, thank you very much. He's your Democratic nominee for Agriculture Commissioner. Election day is November 2nd.